true.
Yes.
Yeah, so it will be like a new experience, and at the same time, it's a welcome experience that you have experienced before. And what else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I really want to talk about how little we know ourselves, and how this is kind of more but I'm so interested in, because when we are talking about, by the way, it's recording, right?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So when we're talking about setting goals, right?
Yes.
So we tend to set goals that are external in nature, right? So we want to get our dream client, right? We want to hit XY target, right?
Yeah.
And so it's always something which is kind of outside of us. And I'm just wondering, why does it always have to be external? Mm-hmm. Right? Right?
Yeah. Let's take it from there. This is the We're Gonna Make It podcast with Anna and Patrick, and we are gonna talk about internal goals. One of the internal goals, I think, was an outside goal when I was little. When I was I wanted to grow this much.
Yeah.
And I was a couple inches or a couple centimeters tall. And I was I want to be as tall as my brother. Or I want to be as tall as my dad.
Yeah.
And that was my internal goal. I could not do anything to control this outside circumstance. Because
but that's the thing, yeah.
Yeah, but that was a goal. So one could say that was not a good goal, because to the extent of you can control how tall you grow, it's a silliness that only you can put forward for it. But I remember having this goal define my day-to-day. Yeah.
But that's what I'm talking about. So when you have a goal, which is usually result oriented, right? Because you're okay, if I achieve this or that, then I will be happy, right? Mm-hmm. So what I don't really like about this is that we make things conditional, right? Mm-hmm. So you would be oh, okay, so my whole day is about reaching this goal. Okay, so and when you don't reach it, you would be devastated, right? Disappointed, right?
Yeah.
Even if you did everything possible, right? You put in the effort, you put in the energy, you did everything possible. But what if you don't reach it? Then, what we typically do, we beat ourselves up, right? Yeah. And then we kind of think that everything that we have done is in vain, which is not true. It's not true, right?
Yeah.
So actually, what I think is a bit dangerous, to be honest, is being dependent on these external stuff. Because if you think about it, if your happiness depends on, what you can achieve, or, whether you produce this or that, you will always be a slave to circumstance. Always. Always. Think about that, because you will be happy when things go well, right?
Yeah.
And you will be sad when things go wrong. So this is, in my experience, the most fragile state you can ever put yourself in. The most fragile thing. So I think it's a bit dangerous, because then you don't have this kind of inner balance, which is kind of unshakable. It doesn't matter what happens to you, you're good.
But to your point, there are people out there who set goals that are outside goals, and they have an unshakable confidence in them achieving this. Like Muhammad Ali winning his next fight, or Marty Supreme winning the championship.
Yes.
So it makes us feel almost aligned with them so much, or at least I feel that I'm aligned with them so much so, because this confidence is attractive and it radiates.
No, of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think the point I'm trying to make is more that you shouldn't. That you shouldn't make your happiness conditional.
That's true.
Because think about that. Let's say, okay, you have this goal, you mentioned Muhammad Ali and all these people, but what if they put in, all they can, and they still do not hit the goal, let's say for years, or, tens of years, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
and then it has an impact on their self-worth and self-confidence, and it shouldn't. I mean, if you think about all the big inventors and all the big founders, like how they started off, right? Like if you think about Thomas Edison, right? Like how many times he failed. So things should be, because if you set a goal, right? And I'm not against goal setting, by the way. I'm against like making yourself kind of like a slave to that goal. You know, kind of like, you know, like to think that nothing outside of that matters, right? I'm pretty against that, because look, like even if you do your best, right? You put in a lot of effort, things will happen. Like this is life, right? So, and I think what typically ends up happening is that people tend to get discouraged, right? Because they will be like, oh, you know, I'm trying to do everything. I put in extreme amount of effort. Why is it that I don't succeed, right? Because that's life. And you need to fail before you succeed. And by the way, the more hardships you have, the bigger success you're destined to have. This is just my experience. I'm going to prove you in like under 2 minutes why it's true. So
prove it to me.
Yeah. So look, if you think about nature, I love bringing examples from nature. I think it's nature teaches us so much. So if you think about the seasons, it's wintertime right now, right? So if you think about what happens during fall, right?
What happens? The leaves and, you know, fruits fall down from trees.
Absolutely, but why is it necessary? Because because it's a preparation for spring, right? Mm-hmm. But from the outside, it's a loss, right? Mm-hmm. Leaves fall down, it's a loss, right? Like something which was there, like not there anymore, right? It's a loss. But that loss is needed for rebirth, right? Mm-hmm. And I think what we humans mostly do is that we cling to stuff, right? So let's say, you know, you lose a relationship or lose a job or lose whatever, right? And we try to cling to it, right? We try to force it back, right?
Yeah.
Instead of letting it go, instead of trusting the process that, you know, I need to let it go now because it doesn't serve me anymore, because it blocks my growth. And I don't think you ever lose anything in life which is truly meant for you, you know. If you lose something, it's because it blocks your expansion.
Wow.
I seriously believe that. I mean, think about that. When you lose something, it creates space for what? It creates space for
the new things.
Yes, for something way bigger, or way bigger and way better. And I think this is what most people do not see. That loss is needed for something way better, you know, for something which is like a much better thing, you know. And also, if you think about, I love also biology. If you think about the heart rate, it's just, what is that? Like, it goes up, it goes down, right? I mean, this is like an oversimplification. So if anyone in the audience is a doctor, like, we know what, like, but this is how, like, this is how it works. Like, this is a sinus rhythm, right? It goes up and it goes down.
Yep.
Okay, but no, like, if you look closely, like, notice what it looks like. The more it goes down, the more it goes up, right?
Makes sense.
Right. So just to put it in context, if you experience extreme hardships, if you feel like everything in your life is collapsing, you know, like you seem to be losing everything, that's good. Stay there. Because the reason why you have that, because you're meant to go like up, and you're in the biggest transformation of your life. I promise that. No, seriously, I mean, this is
I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I get chills here right now.
That's amazing.
This is such a cool idea. I love
this
idea. Yeah. Please continue if you want to.
Yeah, so, you know, it's just, so the point I'm trying to make is that I think we tend to judge circumstances. You know, if something, you know, bad, like let's say something happens to us which we label as bad, right? Let's say, I don't know, you get a disease or you get like something which you cannot really prepare for, and we tend to panic, right? Like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? Like, why me, right? Like this, you know, we get these kind of questions, we ask these kind of questions to ourselves. And I think what we never ask is, what does it prepare me for?
Right.
Right? Or what is it trying to tell me that I haven't noticed in myself? Because, I mean, in my experience, like your body's sending signals to you every single day. And by the way, most of the times we honor these signals. So for instance, when you're hungry, that's a signal, right?
That's the best signal.
Right? So
I love eating.
Right? But that's the thing, right? So you honor the signal, so you eat, right?
Yeah.
You give your body what it needs. But many other times you just don't do that. You know, let's say you're tired. Do you rest? Well, I hope so, right? But like most people do not, right? Or, you know, you feel frustration and you just don't do anything. You let it slip by. And by the way, don't think that you don't pay a price for that. Because in my experience, you know, you pay a price for every single no you didn't say. Every single time you didn't you didn't stand up for yourself when you should have. Like all these things have a kind of mark in your body. And in my experience, like they're constantly trying to get your attention. So when we're talking about, you know, New Year's resolutions, right?
Yeah.
I think where I would start is listening to our own signals. Because when you learn to do that, you will be unstoppable. Mm-hmm. You will be unstoppable. You know? It's so interesting. Like we typically want to add more to our lives, right? Like, I don't know, I want, right?
Yeah.
We have all these kind of lists, like what we want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And
progress equals happiness.
Absolutely. And actually, in my experience, I think real growth happens when you do not necessarily add.
So freedom equals growth?
Yes.
Nice.
I think so. Yeah. And also, like, I think, by the way, if we're talking about freedom, I used to think that freedom means, you know, having, you know, like all this kind of like time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom, right? Like these are the kind of freedoms that are listed commonly or usually. And I think these are not real freedoms at all. I think real freedom is when you learn to detach from needing anything outside of you. You know, this is the real freedom, because you will be like, because look, like those things can be taken away from you within seconds. I mean, if you look at history, we have a lot of examples, right, where, you know, I don't want to say concrete examples now because I think everyone knows what I'm referring.
Lack of freedom? Mm-hmm. Where we have lack of freedom?
Yes, or like it's a situation where you were kind of like, let's say, a privileged group, or like, you know, and then everything is taken away from you within seconds, you know.
Right.
Or let's say
the French Revolution, for example.
Yeah, for instance, yeah. Or, you know, let's say you're a successful entrepreneur and you lose everything. But not because you did something wrong, but it's just life, you know?
Right.
So but in this case, if your self-worth is determined by what you own, how much money you make, you know, how high your status is, and, you know, how many friends you have, how many, you know, where you go on vacations, then, as I said, you're a slave to circumstance. And when you lose those stuff, you know, you will have a really hard time getting up. So I think what you actually should focus on is developing this kind of inner resilience, which is not dependent on what people say to you, how many friends you have.
Perfect. Recording.
Okay, awesome. So
took a little break here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Back to you, Anna.
Yeah. So if you think about it, like most of us live our lives in the following way. You wake up, right? Let's say you do your stuff, and then someone says something to you when you do groceries. Like let's say someone is rude to you, then you get like sad.
Offended.
Yeah, and that's natural, right? And then someone says, "Oh,
unless you stay guard at the
Yes.
door of your mind."
Absolutely.
And if you stay guard at the door of your mind, you don't let bad days happen to you.
Yeah, because you're just not affected by it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's say you get offended, and then the next minute, a friend of yours calls you, and then they would be like, "Oh, I really loved this. I don't know this article you've written, and then you get happy, right? And then you go home, and then your partner's spouse says something to you, and then you get offended again, and then you're just constantly in this kind of like emotional state, which is kind of like a roller coaster, right? Like it just goes up and down, up and down, up and down, and it's not like a stable thing. And this is really dangerous,
How so?
Yeah, because in these circumstances, if you think about it, you're kind of controlled by those things, so you kind of give away your power, and this is why it's so dangerous. Because you shouldn't, because in these circumstances you're kind of like a puppet, right? You're kind of like which kind of moves in the direction that it's being pulled.
Right.
And this is and this is dangerous because if you think about
because you're not in control.
Yes, you're just not in control.
Yeah.
And I think so true control is not, so in my experience, like true control happens when you learn to kind of like.
By the way, I'm on the edge of my seat. I want to know what true control is. So
Yes.
You hooked my attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think true control is when your inner state, so how happy you are, how confident you are, like all these kind of things, right, do not depend on what people say to you, how people react to you, and what happens in your life. This is true control. Because what we typically do, we try to control outside circumstances, right? We try to control what people say about us, right? How people think about us, right? How people will, we try to control how people react to us. And this is a dead end, because in reality, you cannot control those things. And when it comes to, actually like navigating life, I think this is a true dead end, because you will never be in a situation when you can control like all those external stuff. You will never be able to do that. And this is and I think, when we're talking about frustration and suffering in life, for me, this is suffering, because you're trying to control the uncontrollable, and you're trying to you're trying to create the illusion that things will happen in your way, and they won't. And this is life, and it's not because you did something wrong, because it's life. And I think when you learn to trust life, when you trust that everything unfolds as it needs to, not as it should be, I think this is when real peace comes. Because you would be like, okay, I might have lost this opportunity, but the reason why I lost it, because there's something better and bigger preparing in the background. Or, I might have had, I don't know, I might have got like a disease, right, which seems to be the worst thing, or it can be the best thing if you learn how to cope with it, right? Because look, in my experience, every single thing which seems like a loss or which seems like, you know, the worst thing ever, and there are many of these things, right? Let's say you don't get your dream client, you lose an opportunity which seems like the best, right? Or you don't, or you lose, I don't know, you lose a loved one, or you lose a relationship, you lose like anything, job, you know, client, like you miss your targets, like anything, like all these kind of things that we typically label as negative, right? All those things are compounding growth in disguise.
Wow.
So your job is not to fix and not to control, but to learn to participate in life. This is your only job. This is your only job.
Can I just say, like, we need like new lenses for this, because I got the chills again, and this is like so cool.
Thanks so much. That's so good to hear.
So cool. So happy. So yeah. Boom.
Cool.
We're talking about a different topic now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I'm curious about your goals.
Okay.
For this new year. So
yes.
What are those?
Well, I have external goals, right? So,
yes, yeah, that's why I'm
But in this conversation, I realized, like, and even prior to the conversation, I've been thinking about this concept because you messaged me, and I was like, do I make the right goals work for me? It's like, what is happening? So
no, but I mean, look, like, I don't think that there's such a thing as, you know, right goals, and like, I don't think there's such a thing as good goals and bad goals. Whatever works for you. Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, whatever.
But yeah, so I want to control my body to the extent that I would want to increase my sensitivity, be it more sensitive to emotions, more sensitive to the food that I have in my body, or the vitamins that I take.
This is so crucial.
So yeah, because I feel like sometimes when you're sick, for example, you take a vitamin C, does it make you better? No. But the vitamin C, sometimes when you take it on a regular basis, it makes you healthy, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that's why I wanted to make my body more sensitive. And I think it's a goal I can control, right? Because like...
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because in the previous times, I don't think I had been open enough to open up about sensitive topics that would actually affect me.
Yes.
Right? Nevertheless, I was a happy person.
Yeah.
But not in that way that I wanted to be.
Yes.
And so sensitivity is something I think I can control, and I will want to control.
Yeah.
And if it's something that I can control, then I think it's also something that I can protect myself with as well. Because sometimes I learn to be in environments where I realize I have no control over the situation.
Oh yeah, most of the times you don't.
Yeah, people will just decide or not based on a conversation or an email what's happening. And so sensitivity definitely. And the other thing was gonna be how many push-ups I do.
No, that's cool.
That is something I think I can control.
No, absolutely, yes.
So I just want to get to that good goal. Not even a number, but just like every day one push-up.
Yes.
I learned to set this like ridiculously small goals, because if I do one push-up, I'm not going to do just one push-up, right?
Interesting, yes.
So...
maybe two, right?
Maybe 2, maybe 10, maybe 20, right? So it's like... but
cool.
if you start with one, it's contagious. So it's like you usually go for more.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And I think your body helps you. So once you start doing something, it kind of makes you do more, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it really helps you. But
so over goals,
yes,
you were telling me that intentions should be more welcome, because why?
Yeah, so when you think about goals, those are usually, not everything, not all of them, of course, but like mostly they are result oriented, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't know, I need to, let's say one goal would be moving to a different country, or moving to a different place, or, you know, meeting new people. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have those goals. You should have those goals, but I think it's healthier to set intentions, because look, this is what you can always control, and you might not achieve those goals, you know. You might not achieve those goals.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in the end, it doesn't help you if you beat yourself up, right, over not achieving any, let's say, or like not achieving any of that, right?
Yes.
So I think it's better to set, like, you know, intentions. And by the way, starting with the smallest you can. Because I think, like, most of us, I'm definitely guilty of that. So, you know, when you have big dreams, right?
Yes.
And then you see the mountain, right?
Yes.
But then you focus on, oh my gosh, like, how do I get to the top of the mountain, right? And then you miss the step which is in front of you. You miss this small step that you can take today, or even this very second, you know. And I think in this scenario, we kind of underestimate what we can do today and overestimate what we can do in a year, you know.
Okay.
And there's so much you can do, like, and start with the smallest thing you can do, like the smallest you can, yeah, the smallest you can the smallest steps you can take today, you know.
Makes sense.
Yes, and I think it really helps, and it really gives you kind of boost that, oh my gosh, you know, I can do that, right?
How do you know that you have underestimated yourself?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say I underestimated myself. What I would say, though, is that I underestimated the steps that I can do today, or this very second. Because, you know, I think we kind of like underestimate the power of the smallest things you can do. And the reason is because you don't see instant result. I mean, if you think about a seed, I love this example. This is what I always bring, because it teaches you so much. So if you think about a seed, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you plant a seed.
Yeah.
Okay. You nurture it, right? You water it, like you do everything you need, right?
But I want to say, like, usually when you plant a seed,
Yeah.
you're not only planting one seed.
Yeah, let's say you plant a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, you plant a lot of seed.
Yeah.
You water it, you nurture it, you do everything required, okay?
Yes.
Do you see result in a day?
No.
Okay, do you see result in a week?
No.
Okay, awesome. Do you see a result in a month, let's say?
Maybe.
Maybe, that's the thing. Yes, but in order for you to see a result, you need to keep doing what you started, right? So you need to be, you need to put in the effort, and this is what most people do not do. Because they would be like, okay, I don't see any result. So, you know, conclusion, my efforts are in vain. And this is not true.
Uh-huh.
You just need to be patient. You need to be patient, and you still need to do the work. And I think in this world, we're just bombarded by, you know, like this kind of urge to produce something instantly. Like everything is like this, right?
Yeah.
You get a text, you're expected to reply, like say, like within minutes, or like if you reply to a text within 24 hours, people think you're dead, right?
I don't know. Some friends of mine, like I literally have friends who take 1 month to reply.
That's
and
a
I'm
lot.
like, I really believe sometimes that they're dead, but hopefully they're not, and they always keep surprising me because they got back to me.
Yes.
And then they're like, well, they don't even say sorry anymore. They're just like, that's who they are. Yeah, so they get back to me in a month.
I mean, of course, like some people like really busy, I can understand. But I think, like I think it's a lot. And look, like there are many stuff going on for people, I can understand that. And I think it's always better if they get back to you. And you so, but I think a good time is like kind of within a week, you know?
Maybe.
Yeah. I try to reply within 24 hours or like within like two days, but But yeah, because if I don't, then I forget, and then there's something that just gets prioritized, right?
Right.
So I think if you get in this loop, it's just easier. But yeah, but just back to urgency. To be honest, in my experience, urgency is nothing more than stress disguised as ambition. This is what it is. Because, yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, if your peace depends on resolving things instantly, then again, we come back, this is just the most fragile state you can ever have. Because you're constantly like pulled back and forth, and you know, you're just not peaceful when things are unresolved. And in life, there are many things which you cannot resolve instantly, and that's okay. And that's okay, and you should accept that. And you should accept that. You know, you don't need to solve everything today. You don't need to know all the answers. You don't need to know all the steps to start something. And I think this is what most of us have a hard time accepting, because let's say there's you plan a big move, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to do everything instantly, right? We want to get the perfect setup, the perfect, let's say, in business you want the perfect idea, marketing, perfect clients, perfect everything, right?
Yes.
But you cannot have it all at once.
Yeah.
You cannot, just cannot. And I know what it feels like, right? To kind of feel suffocated, right? By everything, and you kind of feel, oh God, if I don't do this, if I don't do all these things, then I'm behind. You're not behind. You're not behind. I promise you, you're not behind. This is the biggest lesson I've learned this is the biggest lesson I've learned, that you are exactly where you're meant to be. You are exactly where you're meant to be. You never lost anything. You never lost anything, and you're not behind. And actually, when you can really accept that, I think it brings so much peace, because you're like, okay, I'm in the chapter of my life where I'm meant to be. I'm in the season of my life which brings me the best opportunities. And it will.
I love this concept, because there's also this concept that relates to this, that sometimes people take detours from a perfect road.
Yes, I'm one of these people, yes.
Yes, and it's like oftentimes you get to ask the question, why did I do this before?
Yes,
or how come I was ever inclined to do this before?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and it just makes sense at the time, because you're no longer that person.
No.
You're a new version.
Absolutely.
A new person, right? So yeah.
Oh, for sure.
But each step has led to the development of your character and the growth of your character. So I believe that's important too. So it's okay if you build Legos at 5.
Yes. Or even when you're 25, or whatever.
Yeah.
If it works for you, then do it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you brought up detours, because how most of us think about detours is kind of negative, right?
Yes.
So we tend to label them as, something is wrong, right? Or, something is off, or, I don't know, I did something wrong, or something is, I'm failing.
Unexplainable even.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's so interesting, people equate change with failure, or no result with failure, or, weird with failure, right?
Yeah.
Because when you do detours, you kind of leave a path, which most people follow, right? But, and here's the catch, if you want to live a extraordinary life, you will have an extraordinary path, right? which means different from others, right? So you have to be willing to be different. You have to be willing to be misunderstood. You have to be willing to be judged, criticized, looked down on. You know, this is the price. And this price, and this is really hard. This is really hard. I'm not saying this is easy. This is freaking hard. But this is the price for what's waiting on the other side. I truly believe that. And I think,
wow.
And I think when you can do that, and look, and actually, I think you can actually train yourself. You know, train yourself to do that. So, for instance, I think good training, which I've been doing for many years now. When someone invites you for, let's say, you know, for a cup of coffee or whatever, someone invites and you don't want to go, don't say yes, say no. It's okay to say no. Look, it's okay to say no. And I understand so many of us are like, no, I don't want to offend the other person. You know, I like this person. I do want to spend time with this person, right?
Yeah.
Right? So in this situation, when you say yes, what you actually signal to your mind is that, okay, my needs are less important than the needs of the other person, right?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is that you actually put yourself in the second place, right? And then you always prioritize, you know, doing what is required from you. And this is, you know, when you develop behaviors like people pleasing, right? Like being unable to say no. All these kind of mechanisms which you think are your personality.
Yeah.
But these are like basically just patterns that you acquired, you know, and these are not who you really are.
Right.
So start doing these things. Or another thing, don't give a tip if you don't want to. And this is also a good thing to practice because it makes the waiter uncomfortable, right? And it makes you uncomfortable.
Okay, yeah.
It's extremely uncomfortable because they're like, oh, like, did I do something wrong, right? Like, don't give something which you don't want, right?
Yeah.
And
although I like to be a generous tipper,
yeah,
I think most waiters are amazing.
Yeah, but you look, that's amazing. But if you don't, but my point is that, you know, give a tip if you want to, but don't give a tip if you don't want to, because most people would give a tip just because they feel guilty not to, right?
Okay.
Like in my experience, at least, like here, this is so common. But
we have talked about extraordinary life and about goals.
Yes.
What could be an extraordinary goal?
Yeah, I think one would be learning to trust yourself so deeply that it doesn't matter who, you know, it doesn't matter who believes in you. It doesn't matter what people say about you. It doesn't matter if it looks like a failure from the outside. You still do it. That's the most powerful thing you can do. When you do what you feel right, regardless of who claps for you, who supports you, you know, how many people you lose in the process, who thinks you're crazy, regardless of any of these things. I think that's the most powerful thing you can ever do. And by the way, when you don't do that, you pay a price. And this is what I see in many people. Actually, when people talk about midlife crisis, you know, I think this is nothing more than the accumulation of all those instances when you weren't true to yourself, when you didn't honor yourself, and when you actually lived a life which was someone else's but not yours.
Wow.
This is for me the midlife crisis. And of course it's much deeper than that, but like I think this is kind of like the core the core foundation of it. Because, you know, people wake up and then they say, oh my God, like, whose life am I living, right? Like, why am I in a career which I don't enjoy, which doesn't bring me fulfillment at all? which I not only do not like, but I absolutely hate. And also, like, there are many layers, right? Like, why am I in this relationship, right? Like I don't even know this person. I don't even know myself, right? Like, so just to begin with, right? Or, you know, like, why am I in this country? Why, you know, the list goes on and off, right? And then people start waking up like, it's just not me. And for me, this is actually the highest, and this is the highest form of deception, when you're not true to yourself. And being true to yourself begins with trusting what you feel is right. And by the way, what you feel is right might not be what other people think. It might not be what other people think is good for you. And this includes family, friends, everyone, right? Everyone. I think you have to be prepared to lose people, because the alternative is losing yourself. And
wow.
And I
wow.
don't. And which is better? Which is better?
Well, I don't want to lose myself.
That's the thing. But do you want to? That's the thing.
But there's a question about ego, right?
Yes.
So because there's the concept of ego, and that you should lose your ego, right?
Yes.
So that's losing yourself in that sense is healthy in the process. I think, for example, a painter loses themselves in the process of painting.
Oh,
so,
yeah, absolutely. By this, when I say losing yourself, I mean losing the connection to yourself.
Okay.
So kind of like being, like not being who you are. If it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? So for instance, and this is, by the way, so typical for people who are working in the legal profession, that, you know, you might have, you know, and many other examples, of course, and I can bring many other examples, of course, but it's just so typical, and this is what I've seen. You might have...
What is typical?
Yeah, right? So you might have, let's say, luxurious vacations. You might, you know, you might be able to afford lots of things. You might seem to be living in a perfect relationship, you know, like perfect everything from the outside, right? You might have all these awards, like all these kind of certifications and external stuff, right?
Yep.
So external validation overloaded, right?
Yep.
But what you don't have is inner peace.
Okay.
Right? What you have is basically this constant friction between who you are inside and what you present from the outside. And when the two are not in harmony, you know, not in balance, this is when you experience frustration, depression, disease, right? All these things. Like, because you're not who you truly are. You're lying to yourself. This is deception. This is corruption. You're corrupting yourself. And I don't mean to scare people, by the way, but it's basically my point is to awaken everyone of the power that they have, of their choices. And you know, most people would be like, okay, but I don't want to, you know, if I say my opinion, I might get fired, right? Or I might lose a client, or I might, you know, I might have something happen to me which is bad. My answer to that, wait until life hands you the bill for corrupting yourself. Because this is the most expensive bill you will ever pay. The most expensive one. So don't think that, you know, don't think that you're doing yourself a favor by not being true who you are, by playing small, by shrinking your potential. You're paying the biggest price you can ever pay. And it's not nice. It's not nice. So look, so for instance, if you know, you can practice that. Just, you know, if someone disrespects you, say something. If someone, you know, walks over you, say something. You don't have to burn the bridges. You don't have to, you know, although I'm pretty good at that, but so you don't need to, like, you don't have to be dramatic. You don't, you know, you don't have to go to the news. You don't like none of that. Just do yourself the smallest favor. Honor who you are. Don't try to conceal who you truly are. And you think you might lose. And look, the price is losing people. The price is losing opportunities. The price is losing potential clients or job or whatever. But again, the alternative is losing who you are and losing the connection to yourself. And that is far greater than you can ever imagine. So I do think that, actually, I think this is kind of like a key to living a fulfilled life. Like,
to have a connection to yourself.
Yes.
Tell me one more amazing thing that you always wanted to share with me,
yes.
And then I'll thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wish people realized the enormous potential they have. I don't think most people realize that. That, we're looking for, for so many things outside of us to make us inspired, right? To make us motivated, to make us happy, right? All these things. We're looking for so many things. We buy, we buy into brands, right? We go on vacations in wherever, right? We chase all these kind of things. And I just wish people realize that everything they're looking for outside already exists within. You don't need to be accepted by anyone if you accept yourself. You don't need to be understood by anyone if you understand yourself. You don't need to be supported by anyone emotionally if you support yourself. You don't need others to believe in you if you believe in yourself. And you don't need others to clap for you if you clap for yourself. So this is kind of my message to everyone, to not to underestimate themselves, because they're way more powerful than you can ever imagine. And I think when you realize that, and when you actually act in accordance with that, I think this is when true magic happens. You start, attracting the right people, attracting the right opportunities. Kind of your life just falls into place, So this is kind of my final message to people. Oh yes, and don't let anyone, convince you that you're not good enough, because you are. You are. And you can and you will achieve everything that you're meant to. Trust in yourself, believe in yourself, and it's going to be worth it. Trust the journey. And it was just,
wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much.